What's up, y'all? My name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome y'all to my channel. Alright, so as you can tell from the title of this video, it's all about kind of what went wrong with the film adaptation of this amazing comic, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, I've done my out of the theater review, I've done my non-spoiler review, I've done my spoiler review. So what this is just more of a deep dive, really trying to break down what went wrong with this film, which I thought was actually going to be pretty great and ultimately did not turn out that way. So I came up with 4 big things that the film got wrong in regards to the storytelling. But before going any further, I want you to smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Alright, so just getting started, the first thing that this film really missed on is that it did not build on what people liked about the DCU, namely Superman. So Superman does appear, sorry, take this hat off. Superman does appear in the film a couple times, and every time that David Corenswet Superman appears, it's a really good part of the film. You really start to see the dynamic between Kara and Kal-El. You see basically the care that he has for his cousin. Oh, by the way, there's spoilers in this. There's also the humor that we saw in Superman as well as in the Peacemaker series, both season 1 and season 2. And there's a little bit of humor in the film, again with spoilers. There's this joke where there's this weird creature that's pooping out some kind of popcorn stuff, and they're aliens, so they eat it, and she says it tastes like basically. And so I laughed at that. And there were little things here and there, jokes in there that were funny. But for the most part, the movie was largely humorless, partially because of the subject matter. It was a bit darker. But the thing is, with characters like this, especially new characters, you have to like them. And I think a little bit more humor would have made you like those characters. And another thing that people have liked about the DCU is the music. Now I know I criticized the last episode of Peacemaker because it had a lot of Foxy Shazam and some of these other bands, which throughout the series I enjoyed. It felt like a little bit much in that last episode. But if you think about all James Gunn's properties and the DCU stuff, the music has been a really positive, good part of those films and those TV shows. And so the music just missed in the Supergirl film, especially the middle.
Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out and looked down on.
Like the slow version of the middle that people have been talking about. That when I heard it, I hated it in the theater, and I still am not a fan of it. I like the original song, but just not this version, and just not in that part of the film. And so those things that people liked about the DCU, I think would have been served better if this was more of basically a Superman, Supergirl film, which is really the first time we see it in live action. We saw it a little bit in The Flash, but that film never happened. And so to see a Supergirl, Superman film based on maybe some of the great team-up comics they've had in the past would have been awesome and would have been a good start. But we didn't see that here at all. And that brings me to the second thing that I think they really missed with the Supergirl film, why it failed, is that they left out some very important aspects of the comic that I thought made the comic, well, it does make the comic great, and it was missing in the film, and so I think that really hurt the execution of the film. So some things are missing from the Supergirl film that were in the comics. One, you had the dinosaurs on the Green Sun planet. Now, the reason they're important is because a big part of that scene in the comics is that Ruthie is protecting Kara from the dinosaurs. Otherwise, she would have been devoured and killed by the dinosaurs. And so when you take that out, you take out some of the agency and the importance of Ruthie, who we see in the comics with that sword is actually somewhat capable because it was her dad's sword. And so on the planet, if they had somehow made some creatures or put some threats in there that where Ruthie had to actively fight to keep Kara safe, that would have been cool. but that wasn't in there, and so that took away some of the coolness factor and the utility of Ruthie that we saw in the comics that we didn't see in the film. Also, in the space pirate scene, when the teleporting space pirates come in there, in the actual comic is a dragon, and so Kara goes get this special type of kryptonite which actually gives her powers in that scenario, and basically, you know, defeats the dragon. And so that would have been a cool thing. Again, I get it, it's probably very expensive, but that's one of the cool things about the comic. And so the space pirate scene just didn't really do it for me. It had some cool aspects, but it wasn't spectacular. And so I think that had they, you know, maybe cut some other aspects of the film and had that in there, that would have been cool. And so with that missing, that was another thing that just could have been great, but just wasn't there. Change the Crim, as I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, I actually did like this villain in this film, because basically the villain is just there to kind of help move the story along. You don't really focus on Crim that much. He's not a very major part of the film. He's almost like a monster of the week type villain. And so one of the things in the comic is that Crim is a genocidal maniac. And so also he looked a lot different than this version of Crim. Had they done that, I think it probably would have won some more fans over, because the villain would have been at least interesting. That being said, that was just one aspect, you know, him being a genocidal maniac rather than a sex trafficker. I think that was something that change didn't help the film ultimately. It was more so geared towards, you have two female leads, so just make the bad guy a sex trafficker, because of who, you know, what is more terrifying for these young women than a sex trafficker. Another thing I liked in the comic that wasn't really as evident in the film is that Kara really worked actively to try to save Argo City before ultimately she had to leave once everyone was dying off. And there's even a scene where she's like putting this I think lead shielding on the ground that her dad came up with to kind of shield from the radiation from the kryptonite, but then a meteor shower comes and she has to leave ultimately. But I think that scene alone would have, like, where she's not powered at all, but she's just working and putting back breaking labor. Maybe she gets injured or something while she's working. You see her bleed, but then she keeps going because she's trying to save everyone. That would have been a cool scene to really show that she isn't just her powers, it's like she herself is a superhero, even without the powers, even when she's a young kid, young girl. And so I think that would have helped. I love that scene in the comics, but it's not in the film. There's some great like dialogue between her and her dad, but ultimately I think that scene would have really helped kind of show who she is beyond just the powers. Which again, when you think about the super family, the powers oftentimes overshadows how good they actually are. And that brings me to the third thing I think they got wrong with the film, why it ultimately didn't work. I felt like they were trying to do too much too fast. As some people have pointed out, it was kind of weird to have Supergirl, who isn't a widely popular character, be the second big film in the DCU. There are other big characters they could have tried to bring in here. They could have done a film with one of the other major members of the Justice League. They could have had a Wonder Woman film as the second one. They could have had Batman, try to bring him in at this point. They could have done a Green Lantern film. But the point is, they went to Supergirl. It did not work, and I think it's because they were just trying to rush and trying to do it a little bit too fast. And last but not least, one of the big misses I think they had with the Supergirl film is that, and I know this is gonna sound weird, there wasn't enough Lobo. Now I said this in my spoiler review, but what I want to just say about the whole Lobo aspect is Lobo, the film doesn't have to be about Lobo. I mean, it is Supergirl, but the Lobo brings levity. Lobo brings fun. He's a cool character, and he's gonna bring in people who, even if they don't really care for Kara or Ruthie, if he's on there, maybe kind of busting their chops a little bit, it might actually make it more entertaining for fans who weren't a big fan of Supergirl per se. It's kind of like Nate Fillion's Guy Gardner in the Superman film. Obviously it's Superman, but Guy Gardner was a really fun, great character to have in there. I enjoyed Guy Gardner. They added some personality to the film, and had he not been in there, I think it would have been a worse film than what ultimately happened with the film, which I think is great. And also, you think about Guardians of the Galaxy, imagine Guardians of the Galaxy without Rocket Raccoon or Drax. Again, they're not, the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't about them per se specifically. Quill is a big major figure in the movie, also Gamora, but those two characters added levity, added personality, and that's what Lobo could have done for this film. So obviously in the comics, it's Ruthie and Kara going from place to place trying to get Krim of the Yellow Hills. But imagine you add Lobo, who's not in the comic, but add him there as this other force who's maybe also chasing Krim for different reasons. Again, maybe it's a bounty situation where he's trying to get Krim, which actually would have worked based on what happened in Krim in the comics. If you have him there just kind of being the counter to Kara and Ruthie, I think in the comedy, maybe someone who goes in there and causes a lot of problems and they have to clean up his stuff. If you have him in there, I think that would have made the movie overall more entertaining. If you found this video interesting and informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if there's some other stuff you think I missed in regards to why the film ultimately failed, and don't just say it was because of the woman, just stop this nonsense. Please include those in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.